So good afternoon, everybody, and a very warm welcome to our webinar this afternoon. I'm Natalie Simms, and I'm going to be running this webinar for you today on our subject of what is your business really worth. By way of quick introduction, I'm the owner and head coach here at Action Coach, Winchester, Basingstoke and Farnborough. I'm going to give a little bit more background on me and on Action Coach as we kind of get more into our topic into the slide. So I do expect that this will take about 45 minutes to 50 minutes in terms of presentation. So that will leave us some time at the end where Vicky's going to keep an eye on the chat. And if there are questions that you want to put to me, then we can cover those at the end. So what is today's webinar really about, given it's about what is your business really worth? Well, what I want for each of you is to have a business that's not only profitable and that works and works consistently for your customers, but also importantly works without you. And so therefore, I don't know how comfortable or uncomfortable this might be for you, but I want you to get to the stage, show you today how you can achieve that, of making yourself your business isn't dependent upon you. Because the reality is businesses that are dependent upon the business owner can, first instance, not be very attractive to future purchasers. And secondly, can mean, even if they are, that you don't get the best value possible for your business. And we, of course, want you to have the best possible value from all of your efforts, all of your blood, sweat and tears that you've invested into your business, and you will continue over the future years as well. So what we are going to do today is to really work through the steps that you can go through to build up your profits and to build up the multiples that you can expect, given your industry and your sector, that a future prospective buyer could give you for your business. So really get you to the stage where you do have the most valuable business that you can possibly have in your industry and given your sector. So we're actually going to work through, and I'm going to show you, a working example of how we can grow the profits and at the same time grow those multiples. And what is going to be key to this is considering time as well. Time is our most valuable asset, and I'm going to talk about time a little bit in a moment as well. But what we're going to be talking about today is we're not going to put these changes in place overnight. So let's use the time that we have got available to, week on week, month on month, year on year, put in place all the things we're going to step through today. And as we're doing so, enjoy seeing your profits grow and those multiples increase as well. So time is a huge factor in what we're going to be talking about. Now, what we're not specifically going to get into is any minutiae about business valuation. If you Google today's webinar title, instantly will come up half a dozen good business valuation calculation sites. Fundamentally, they're going to ask you for what your profit is, what your industry sector is, what your revenue is, and it will give you an initial valuation back. In terms of profit, it might ask you for your earnings before interest and net profit, before interest and tax is taken out. So you might see terms like that being used on those sites when you're entering your profit figures. But fundamentally, they're going to want to know what your profit is. Now, a word of warning with those sites is what they're going to come back with is the best valuation possible, given those multiples for your industry. But as per today's topic, if you don't have the right things in place, then when you start due diligence with any prospective buyers, what they're obviously going to naturally do, find things are missing, find a business that's possibly dependent on you, and that valuation is going to come down. So what these sites will do, they're very helpful. They'll give you a sense of what's the kind of best valuation you can achieve in your industry, in your profit now. But of course, we're going to be talking about growing your profits as well as the multiples. So what I am going to do today is I'm going to talk you through the steps you can take by using the Action Coach framework that's on the slide here in front of you right now. So I'm going to talk about the foundations you can put in place, how you can go about building a really great sales and marketing engine, how you can go about putting in place the most effective systems, and putting in place that really great team structure. And what we have in Action Coach working through this model, when you reach that team stage and you've got somebody in place running the business, not you, then you've reached that really good position of having a business that can work without you. Now, many of our clients go on to beyond that, then scale the business even further. But what we're going to focus on today is using those first 4 steps to help you build, the most valuable business you can over the time frame that you're looking for. We're going to talk about time in a moment. So every word on this slide is important. We talk to things like eliminate chaos, and then we're going to talk about those multiple as well. But let's look at this purely from the perspective of a buyer, a potential purchaser. Because, if you haven't got the right foundations in place, just like if you don't have the right foundations of a building, then everything you're building on top of it is clearly going to be unstable. What it means also from, running a business perspective is all the foundational elements, which I'm going to talk you through what you do need to have in place, but everything that's absent, consider that it's going to show as chaos within your business. So that might be chaos within your financial management, within how you're dealing with time and productivity, in how you're planning the business and setting goals. All these things, if you don't have them in place in the right way, are going to be introducing chaos within your business. And it's absolutely going to mean that those multiples that we're talking about you can achieve are going to be very low. And potentially, if you've got not a lot of these things in place, fundamentally your business may right now not be worth anything. A future business owner may not give you any value directly just for selling the business as it currently is today, working critically with you. So what we want for you is to have the right foundations in place, not have that chaos, start to grow the multiples that you're worth. We want you to have great sales and marketing in place. With that, you build up predictable cash flow. What purchasers are looking for is that predictable cash flow, the evidence that it is repeatable. It isn't, a one-night wonder. It's not something that's here today, but it's not been in the past. And they're certainly looking to demonstrate that predictable profits that you have in the future without you. We're also looking for a business that's systematized. We're going to talk about how you go about systematizing your business, because firstly, you get an efficient business as a result of systems. Also, a prospective buyer's then got something that they can really take hold of and know that they can run, that they just have to run those systems with the team that you're going to leave them in place. If that business is dependent upon you and not systems, then of course they're going to look at that and see that, that's not a valuable business for them to take on. We also want the right team structure in place. We're going to talk about the kind of team structure that you do need to have in place, because with that right team structure, that right layer of management beneath you, then you're going to be in a position that you can develop that management team, develop somebody or find somebody that's going to be the future managing director of this business. So without these things in place, the value of your business is potentially worth nothing. It might be worth multiples of 1 or 2, but get these things in place. Depending upon your industry sector, there are many industry sectors where multiples of 6 or 7 are very achievable. Then you will be able to progressively, over time, by putting these things in place, command those higher multiples. But we'll talk more about multiples as we get further into today's presentation. We're going to go through each of these 4 steps. I'm going to show you how you can, by implementing those things within those steps, how you can really improve those multiples well as grow your profits. So let's first of all look at time. I've talked about how we've got time on our side to put these things in place. But what's really important is that we make use of that time that we do have. So all we're trying to do on this particular graphic is demonstrate that the time that we've already spent, is time in the past. So this is kind of representing somebody who's 40 years old, may have a life expectancy up to 100 years, possibly more, 80, 85 years realistically. To a 40-year-old person, that might look like there's still, a lot of time ahead of them, and hopefully there is. If you're further up the grid here, another 10, 20 years, of course, more of that time is behind you and less of it's in front of you. However, we've all got to consider that we need to take from this, kind of deduct from that available time, the time that's not really time we can productively spend in our businesses. We all need to sleep. We all need to do a variety of these things as well. And I'm absolutely not saying, I don't want you to have a good work-life balance. I absolutely do. While we're building these valuable businesses, I also want you to be in a position of enjoying your life, actually living life and not just working to live. So I'm absolutely not saying these things are not important, but what I'm saying is you don't have a great deal of time left to productively work on developing your business. What you do have left, you've got to really take control of. Now, if you consider that the majority of the time ahead of us, we're not going to control much more than the next 5 years. We can probably all predict the next 5-year period. We're only talking right now through to the end of 2027, if we're looking at a 5-year time frame. So let's take control of the next 5 years, is my real message behind this screen. Let's take action today and let's start to onboard the learnings from today and start to implement things that we're about to talk through. Because this time will go. Time is our greatest asset. We can always make more money, but we can never get back the time that's gone. So I just thought, before getting you to think about what your time frame is, let's also think a little bit about what's your destination. So these are a range of my clients, all different industries and different sizes and different stages of maturity as well. The majority of my clients are preparing that moment when they can start to seek purchases for their business. So their meaningful event is that future sale of their business, and that's going to be their exit. I've certainly got one client amongst the clients represented here that have been going for 20 years. And the two founders are actually setting up an employee trust. So they're not looking to sell the business to external buyers. They're actually looking to transfer the shares for obviously the right value to their employees, to their management team and other people as part of that employees group. Perhaps your meaningful exit like that. Some of you on here may be, running family businesses. Therefore, it's about building your legacy for the future even further and, reaching the stage where you can retire or pass the baton on to the next family member. Before we get too involved in the detail of the steps that we've been talking about, have a little moment to reflect yourself, taking control of time. For you is your meaningful event. Is it a business? Is it something else is it something else? But importantly, what's your time frame? So what I always encourage my clients to do is everything we want to get written down. As soon as we write things down, we write our goals down. In this instance, we write a time frame down. It's going to actually start to be implanted far more on our consciousness. So to take something really useful away as a starting point, write down on a piece of paper, what is your time frame that you're working? This says 2027. It's a 5-year example. And when I was preparing this and I was thinking 2027, that seems like it's going to happen really quickly, right? We're in 23. Before we know it, it'll be Christmas this year and we'll be kind of facing 2024. And if you think about what you would need to do in a 5-year time frame, put in place everything we're about to talk about, get a business that works without you, but also to go and find those potential buyers, go through the due diligence with them, and get to the stage where you've got that offer and all the legals are resolved, and you've got a signed contract and agreement. If we're saying the end of 2027, then all of that's got to be done in that time frame. What's your event? What are you building toward? And what's your time frame? Is that time frame including the transaction of selling and all the process that's involved, or is it the point where you'd like to be starting that sell process? So let's stay, before we go into the foundations and the sales and marketing and systems, let's think a little bit about a typical organization structure. Because the reality today, when I start with the majority of my clients, they are wearing multiple hats. They are responsible for the commercial aspects of the business, winning the business, for doing the business itself, the operations, running the finance potentially as well, collecting the money and collecting the cash. And there can also be, providing all that glue that the business needs as well around the HR and admin, as well as heading up the business, being that general manager, MD. And if that's your position today and your starting point for today, then that's fine. This is not about what the starting point is. It's about the finishing point, a business that works without you. Let's take these typical functions that we've all got as business owners. Let's translate it into an organization chart. So this is a very typical organization chart. We've got the general manager, MD at the top again. We've got an office manager. We've got somebody responsible for marketing, for sales, operations, finance and admin, and people. Fairly typical. So if you don't have an organization chart already, you can take this. It's a structure for any business. But coming back to time, what I want you to do is think about then, within your time frame, what would be a sequence that you could look to get people in place. So in my fictitious example here, this business owner is responsible for all these functions. This business owner is running the business and is running all these activities. Right now, the starting point is this business owner, all these responsibilities. We've got a 5-year time frame. This particular business owner is strong operationally, less so from a people and a marketing and sales perspective. So a good starting point, for example, for this particular might be to go and get that marketing position in place, that marketing. By the way, it doesn't mean necessarily going out and investing in really expensive people. We've got time now to find people and develop them into these roles. You may have some good people already in the team that are doing some of these things that can become these senior people that are going to run the business for you. But all we're trying to do here is say, right, we're building up to 2027. So let's set a goal to actually get one of these key positions in place, here in this example. So in this case, we're going to get the marketing person on board or start developing some this year. We're going to get the office manager person on board doing that as well. Then we're going to get the salesperson on board next year, operations in 2025, the finance admin in 26, and then in 27 we're going to bring on that HR people focused individual. And of course, those latter positions, we are then going to be looking for kind of ready-made people. There's not going to be the time left to develop people. We're kind of bringing people into these roles at that stage. Early positions recruit, we have 4 or 5 years to develop them. And then importantly, by the end of 2027, we want that general manager in place as well. But because we've got some of these early roles coming on board, say the operations, head of operations becomes the ultimate general manager, then the business owner here has 2 years to work with the general manager to get them fully up with running the business. That's why it's important to use the time that you've got available. So we're going to come back to this, but what you've already now got is a time frame. You're clear about an event you're working to regarding exiting your business, and you've already started to assemble how you're going to structure the business and how it's going to look when we're at this point having a business. So then let's move on into exploring more detail behind the four of these steps we referred to earlier, starting with foundations. So in our system, we have four areas of foundations. We also call foundations mastery. You need to master your finances, master your time, etc. Let's start with financial. And I'm going to keep relating what we do in building these foundations to what a buyer is looking for as well, and what good looks like to a buyer, and equally what isn't good in the eyes of a buyer as well. Financial mastery, let's start there. So here, we need in place our ideally real-time profit and loss. Certainly we want you looking at your profit and loss account at the very least. There's a lot of business owners that literally rely upon seeing their audited accounts to the end of their financial year to truly understand their profit and loss. Clearly, from a financial future buyer perspective, if there's any sense that you haven't got an up-to-date P&L and you're not really on top of it, then that's immediately going to set alarm bells running, and it's going to result in that low valuation rather than a high value. So we want you on top of your profit and loss. We want you on top of your balance sheet. We want you managing your cash flow daily and weekly. We want you managing your profit margins, all your different products and services daily. We also want you to have a forward-looking dashboard for your key. What are those indicators that are going to allow you to understand where your business is? But importantly, in the future, when you are in that due diligence and you're able to demonstrate all the things I've just mentioned, show that KPI dashboard and how it's performed over time, imagine the reaction of a purchaser that's able to see all of that versus one that can't see either all or some of that. We want to eliminate any chaos in this area, the financial area, and have those things in place. With your time, it's important we reconstruct your time. If you're in a situation where you're entirely working in your business, then we need to change that. We need to get you time really early on to actually focus on working on your business rather than in it. Now, when you look at your time and maybe say you assess that, well, overall, I'm kind of 60% productive with my time that I'm working in and on the business. If you then think about from a chaos perspective, that also then says, actually, well, within your time, you've got 40% chaos. What I can also pretty much guarantee is that how you manage your time will be what you're modeling to your team as well. If you assess the fact that you're at 60%, pretty much guarantee your team will be at best. So, as a team, as a business, in that example, only 60%. Of course, what a future buyer is looking for is a business that's highly productive, management team, productive workforce. We need to get on top of time and eliminate the chaos in time. On delivery, we need to look at winning customers, servicing those customers, and that invoice and collecting quality, consistency, and the standards behind all of that. And we need to have, processes in place, and we need to know what systems are underpinning those processes. Again, if you're starting to feel overwhelmed by this, please don't, because you can do this gradually. You can, in a structured way, get these things in place. But the reality is, if you're looking for achieving the most value you possibly can in your industry with your multiples, then you've got to have these things in place. And for each of these things you don't have in place, it's reducing you back to those very low multiples. Now, destination may not be as obvious for you, but we've already started a little bit on what's your destination and what's your event, what's your time frame. There's a lot more to do in that area, but what future buyers looking for? They're looking to come in, look at your business plan, see the goals that you've got, see the vision, see how you've organized the culture of the business. They're looking for that to be written down. Something that they can take hold of, review, and then go and assess the business against. Even regardless of valuation of the business in the future, if you don't have a business plan and you were to be taken out of the business today, who can possibly run that business for you if you don't have a business plan? So often this destination area, even if you're stronger in some of the other areas of foundations, this can often be the neglected. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that, things of that a little bit later. Let's go to sales and marketing. So the first key step in really establishing, a valuable looking company is to be very clear about what your niche is. No better way to do that than to really be able to express very succinctly what is your unique and proposition. What are the guarantees that you provide? You might provide them, but you don't major on them within your marketing. You're not taking advantage of them. But what we need here is, these things to be in place. We need a clear marketing plan, which has got clear strategies in it for winning new customers and retaining and wowing your existing customers. And we need to be able to show evidence that we're actually testing and measuring those strategies, so that we're constantly looking at what's the investment in the marketing strategy, what are the results, and we're continually looking to improve. What worked in 2022 in our marketing may not work as well in 2024. Obviously, this area particularly is an evolving area, but we've got to always have an up-to-date marketing. So again, imagine a prospective buyer coming in, assessing the business, sees the marketing plan, sees the test and measure of all of your strategies, loves your unique position and how you've positioned yourself as number one in your geography. Then you can just imagine what much more of a valuable business that's going to be compared with a business that have these things in place. So we need to get those in place for our sales and marketing. And then something that we've got as a real advantage here of 5 ways for our clients, advantage for our clients to grow their profit marketing, what we call our 5 ways. So by starting to explain 5 ways very quickly, but this is going to start to show you some real numbers as well and show you how you can grow your profits. So we're really kind of getting into quite a bit of. So without knowing 5 ways, what a typical business owner will fundamentally know, even if they can't immediately put their fingers on these numbers, is how many customers they have, what their revenue is, and what their profit is. But at Action Code, we say those are the results of 5 much more important things. Which are these 5 ways? This slide's going to be on the screen for 3 or 4 minutes, so you can look at the numbers, and I'm going to go through them. But the principle of the 5 ways, without looking at the numbers, the 5 ways are: how many leads do you generate? What's your conversion rate? How successful are you at converting those leads into your customers? How many transactions on average do you have with each of those customers? What's the average sale value? And the exciting thing about your 5 ways is that all multiply up. So leads multiplies against conversion rate, and that determines your number of. Then we take customers and we multiply it by transactions and the average sale value, and that then determines the revenue you have. And then finally, we multiply that revenue by your gross profit margin, and then you get your gross profit. So this is an example here, and we're going to stay with this example and also look at value in this business as well a little bit later in the presentation. So this is a business, it's got 4,000 leads a year currently as its starting point. It converts 25% of them into customers, 1,000 customers. Those results, customers' revenue and gross profit, are the items in red, the other 5 ways in white. So it's got 1,000 customers. It's transacting with each of them twice on average in a 12-month period. And it's got an average sale value of £1,000 each of those transactions. So its revenue is 2 million. Got a gross margin of 25%. So it's got gross profit of £500,000. Now, the exciting thing about the 5 ways is all we have to do is purposefully grow them by a relatively small percent. An example of growth of each of the 5 ways. So we're growing leads, conversion rate, transactions, average sale, and the profit margin here by 10% each year on year. So if we look at something like what's happening in year 2 on conversion rate, all we're looking to do is to grow the conversion rate by 2.5%. But the good news is we do that consistently in year 1. We're going to turn this 2 million business into 3. We're going to turn those profits from £500,000 into 800,000. Now, if we can do that in year 1, it's going to be what I call heavy lifting year. It's going to be where we're making a lot of change in the foundation and the sales and marketing area. So there's absolutely no reason why we can't go on and do that in year 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. And in fact, all of our clients in Action Coach are achieving these kind of results. And it's only with something like a 10% 5-way improvement as well. Clients choose more, and some clients choose less than 10%. 10%, hopefully you can see how it's a very realistic number. And all we've got to do is choose a whole range of strategies, those that are going to be most right for you in this next 12 months to move the needle by 10% on your leads, etc. But look what's happening to this business over a 5-year period. It's growing from 2 million revenue to 13.5. Its profits are growing from £500,000 to 5.5 million. We're talking gross profit at this stage, and I'm going to come on to the same example but follow it through with net profit, and then applying it to multiples. The principle here is this is how you can build predictable, also say purposeful growth in your cash flow, but in your profits and in all of your activity. By the way, instantly you get 5 out of the box key performance indicators. Actually get these to work for you for every product. So you can find your 5 ways for each of your product services, for each of your service lines, bigger customer as well. 5 ways, put the effort into it. You can really use it to provide that very predictable growth in your business. We'll come back to it, but before we do, let's have a quick look and explore systems and then team. So systems is pretty obvious, right? We want to get an efficient business. How do we do that? Well, we systematize the business. Let's talk a little bit about how we do that. But what we want to have in place for you is a business that's run by system, by people. And what prospective buyers are looking for is that they're looking to see, what is that system? How much is it followed? Is it consistently followed? Is it robust? Is it kind of the backbone of the business? And if it is, that's going to greater value than if you have a business that's kind of people dependent. With people dependent businesses comes a lot of variation and in delivery. So we have a very structured approach within approaching this within Action Coach. We have what we call our 9 ways to systematizing the business. Now, I've called out these first 4: vision statement, purpose, culture, and we're going to look at those first. And the reason for that is back to the foundational level, at the destination mastery level, we work on these. So when we exit foundations and we've eliminated the chaos, we also have these first 4 items ready to place into what I would say is like a systems manual. So imagine what we're going to build up now is your systems manual, your operation manual for how everybody operates in this business. Prospective buyer comes in and you present them with your operations manual, your systems manual. Imagine how much more impressed they're going to be with this in place versus with you having to verbally explain what all these things are. You know, more potentially. So we're going to come on to the other 9 ways in a second, but let me first of all visually explain these first 4. So what we're going to do in defining these is we're going to get very clear about your journey. So we're clear about your destination, or that exit point. Now let's paint your journey for, say, this 5-year time frame. Let's get clear about what that vision is for the business in 5 years' time. When you get to that 5-year stage and you maybe the beginning of looking to sell it, we're going to move that vision on. We're going to look at that vision again and set the vision for the next 5 years, so that when that owner comes in, they're looking at what's your vision for kind of 5 years hence. But right now, we'll set the vision for the next 5 years. We're very clear about where we're headed. And this is great for your own motivation and inspiration, but it's also fundamental for that of bringing people into the team and getting them engaged, getting them on board in the first place, and then keeping them inspired. We're going to be clear about what your purpose is. You know, why does your business really exist? Why would the world miss you if it didn't? Get that defined. What you might have heard, getting your why defined as well. It can act as a really good performance enhancing drug, because the more we're clear about why we're doing this, the more we're going to be able to go in the challenges, and we're more likely to continue rather than. And the same is true for you, and the same is true for your team as well. So we define your purpose, which, by the way, really doesn't change over time. Vision will, but we're going to be clear about what your vision for the next 5 years is. We've got really good, clearly written 5-year goals for business. We've got 12-month goals. And in Action Coach, we work on a 90-day planning cycle. So we're going to, every quarter, put in place goals and activities to achieve those goals, because then we've got confidence if we hit these goals for the next 13 weeks, we're going to be on track to achieve the goals for the next 12 months. We're going to be able to achieve that next turn on the road that we represent here. And then when we get to that turn in 12 months' time, we'll be able to plan the next 12 months and see the next of our journey. Something that's really fundamental. A lot of people pay lip service to it, saying, yes, we've got our value points defined. But what I want for my clients, and they all do this, is they invest time in really detailing their culture. You know, what are their values? What are your values? What do you value? What violates you as a person? Because what we want is you finding people, bring them into the business, them knowing what your culture and values are, which effectively is how you want them to behave as you travel this journey to your destination and your vision. We want them to be being brought on board, being crystal clear right from day one. You join me in my business, this is how we behave. Come and join us. If you're this, you're not. And then once you've got this defined, then you're able to use this as your kind of set of rules. We'll talk about team performance as well. We get all this clear and we get it all stated in our operations, our systems manual. Then that allows us to then move on and finish the remaining elements. Now, we've already begun today creating an organization chart. So all we've got to do is keep developing that. And as we, more roles and more people, we kind of update the organizational chart. But the good thing about having this in your operations manual, as soon as somebody joins the organization, they're very clear about how it's structured. We're going to put in there your job description. So every role on that job, on that organization chart, will be clear about the roles and responsibilities. Now, again, imagine you're a prospective buyer in 5 years' time and you present them with all of this. You've got that clear way ahead. They can really see how things are organized, who's responsible for what the skill sets are. And then to finish this off, we're going to get that dashboard of your key performance indicators, your financial indicators, your 5 ways, and the other things that are specific for you and for your business as well. We'll get them actually defined in the operations manual. And we'll be able to prove that you're living them as well, because your dashboard real time It's literally like driving a vehicle and seeing that dashboard. We want you to have your dashboard in control of management. Then over time, we want you to develop your what we call how-to systems, those practical systems that will show everybody how everything is done. Now that could be statements of process and procedure and system, videos, it could be audio, it could be a complete mixture. What we want is every aspect of your business to be defined and in a single place. Anybody coming into the organization and understand how they're to perform their duties. With this, also your management systems also systematized and in your systems operations manual, then everybody will be able, anybody new coming into the business, you'll be able to get them up to speed much more. So before we talked about time chaos, how productive are you and your team? Imagine having this in place, how much easier this is going to make your life in the short term, regardless of it being a fantastic document for you to present to buyers. So hopefully this gives you an insight into how we can just divide what might seem quite a complex topic, systematizing the business, really concrete, manageable, incremental steps. And then lastly on team, so we work in Action Coach to these 7 keys to a winning team. Some of them may not be obvious, but if you at this stage, again, starting point doesn't matter, it's where we finish. If you feel you haven't really had the opportunity to develop leadership skills, well, that's skills and that can be learned. We can train you and show you how to become, a very good, strong leader in your business. The common goal and rules of the game, we've already got those defined, right? We've got those goals set. Everybody knows where we're headed over 5 years, over the next 12 months, over the next 90 days. We've got the rules of the game in our culture points as well. So everybody knows what's expected of them, how to behave. What we can do is take those 90-day plans and really start to produce the action plans for the team. So I talked about having 13 weeks in a typical calendar quarter. Well, let's have an action plan for each week. With delegation, we can support, get you comfortable, so making, really, really practicing good delegation. If you've got an inclusive environment for your team, one that's really working together, all going in the same direction, this is what this is all about, is getting a single team, all pointed in the direction of your journey and all loving going on that journey with you. And then coming back to the systems, we want to keep those up to date. So we've got to adopt with learning culture. Do that, every time, for example, it didn't happen. No business doesn't have complaints, but let's take those on positively and say, okay, where did our system break down for this? Let's go and fix the gap, fix the hole, continually learn from that, and let's then, apply those lessons so that we don't make those mistakes in the future. And as a result of it, our how-to systems, our management systems, so something coming back to the theme of today, of having a business that works without you, making yourself dispensable. The opposite of that, of course, with a lot of business owners is their business revolves around them. Our definition of team is together everybody achieves more, right? Got all of these keys to a winning team happening. Of course, you're going to be in a very strong position to have a team that achieves more together. The opposite, again, is true if you are the business revolves around you. How many businesses have you seen where effectively the team is there just to accommodate me as the business owner? So I, of course, want for you the former of those and certainly not the latter of those definitions. Right, let's get back to how do we value our business? So we're going to go back to the numbers that we had earlier. We're growing from 2 million to 13.5 million. What we've done now is we've removed those gross profit figures, put on here an assumption that this business is achieving 10% of its revenue currently as net profit. So after all of its costs, it is making 10% net. Right now, this business is making £200,000 net profit. What we're going to do is the 5 ways are growing by 10%. We're also simplistically going to assume that the net profit is going to grow by 10% year on year as well. So by year 5, we're going to grow the net profit margin 15.1% as well. So we've got our net profit growing, and obviously the amount of profit as well. So what we've got going on here, if we start to then apply multiples and look at that equation of the times multiples equals the value of the business. So let's be generous to this business here, and let's say, okay, its industry, it could potentially achieve multiples of 7. And right now, we're going to be generous, and we're going to give it 2. I'm going to be mean and say it's not worth anything, and we're not just going to do more. So if we do that multiplication, very easy to do, profit of 200 multiple 2, this business is currently valued at £400,000. So it's not unreasonable to say that that due diligence process, right now, if you were to do it, would start with that figure in mind. Let's move forward. Let's then think about what we're doing by putting the foundations in place. So imagine in year 1, this is typically what we do with our clients. Year 1, it's about the foundations moving into the sales and marketing. Now we've eliminated the chaos. So now it's not unreasonable to say the multiples increased. Now we should be able to command 3 multiples. In year 2, we put more and more focus on sales and marketing efforts, growing those 5 ways. We're able to demonstrate that progress. So it's not unreasonable to say that our multiples now move to 4. Then in year 3, we keep that going, continue up to improving our sales and marketing. But now we're able to put more and more focus on those how-to systems, on those management systems, and really embedding that kind of systems culture within more people in as well, more of those senior positions. So if we do that, particularly year 3 going into year 4, it's not unreasonable to think that already now our business is worth, 5 and 6 multiples of that profit. And then in year, continually we putting that team in place, but it really comes together in years 4 and in years 5. So then it's not unreasonable to say, okay, this business in its industry that could achieve 7 multiples is able to really think that it can go and actually buyers that will give them 7 times multiples. What that means for this business here, that we've grown it from a valuation of £400,000 in 2023 to by the end of 2027 being able to really confidently go to buyers and start a due diligence process with them and be able to expect that you come out to that due diligence valuation of 15.2 million. And that's purely because it's the multiple of 7 times a much larger by 2 million. Now, if you are a smaller business, by the way, if you were to change that average sale value to £100 rather than 1,000, that would represent a £200,000 business growing to 1.3 million. So, all we do is kind of divide by 10, sense of how this could apply to you if you're running a smaller business right now. Also, if you're in an industry where your multiples are, say, 3 or 4, they're not as high as 7, it might not seem exciting, but again, if you think about what today it might be worth 0 to 1 or 1 multiple, maybe rather than going up a whole multiple each year, we're going to go up half a multiple. But again, it's better to have 3 or 4 multiples growing pie of profit it is to sell the business right now with that kind of multiple of perhaps lower, say, half or 1. So hopefully that's really brought to life for you how you can practically go about building your profit predictably using 5 ways, and also how it relates to growing the multiple, growing the value of your business. And hopefully, although it's been very summary level, I've given you a real sense of how you can build what you need to have in place, the sales and marketing systems. So I'd love to continue the conversation with you individually, because there's only so much I can cover in this time, in this 60 minutes we have available today. But what I do offer, Vicky's going to make my Calendly link available in the chat box. We would love to see you in an introductory call where we could explore your business and we could explore what we've talked about in general terms. That's your business. What I do have is a coaching program for every size business. You know, we have group coaching program schemes like Action Membership and Growth Club, and then we have one-to-one coaching as well. Action Coach, we have very strong year-on-year client advocacy scores. And stronger even than Apple, who are, you know, have got one of the strongest reputations for having, you know, a global strong advocacy score. And that 100% score is of my clients. So it's my clients assessed that they all believe 100% their investment and their coaching with me is worthwhile. And that's because I'm growing their value of their businesses for them. I'm making those month improvements, but fundamentally on a journey with them, grow the value of their business. So I'd love to see you in a one-to-one. All we need to do is take 30 to 60 minutes, typically on Zoom, and we can start all this together. Then after that, if you would like to go into more detail with me, then I offer a free business diagnostic session where we'll go through 6-step scoring for your business. I'll also develop your 5 ways so that you've got that grid of figures that you saw there in our fictitious example, have that developed for your business, and we'll be able to explore your starting is and how we can grow the multiple, grow the profits. I've got an email address there as well, and also we'll look to follow up with you. I hope you found that helpful today. I'll just check in with Vicky if there are any I need to answer before we go. If not, I'll give you about 8 minutes of your time back, and thank you for your attention today. And genuinely, I do look forward to seeing you in the future and look forward to supporting you to work through the detail in a much more constructive way for you, much helpful way. Thank you for today. Have a lovely evening, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.